You're listening to the Player Issue Podcast. Here's your host, Erin Warwick.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the very first Player Issue Podcast. I am your host, Erin Warwick. My co-host, Joshua Ludlow. Josh.
Howdy.
Yeah, that's exciting. Cool, so we're off to a great start.
Absolutely.
So we're here today to talk, obviously, about player issue and match-worn jumpers. And the topic's come about purely because we all have our match-worn jumper collections or player issue collections, and no real way to talk verbally about it or listen to people talk verbally about it. We can read about it on all the forums and chat rooms and things like that, but you've never had the real option to really listen to somebody's collection, which is a really weird thing to do because it's a very visual thing. But somehow I find it very therapeutic talking about it.
Yeah, I think podcasts, I was never actually into them at all. And then I started doing one and I still wasn't into it. But then I started to get bored of listening to just music while driving the car, and for some reason podcasts seem to fill that void. I used to hate them. I couldn't stand them. And yeah.
I'll be honest, I couldn't stand them, but that's only because I never actually listened to them.
Yeah, that could be me.
Well, everyone would talk about, podcast this, podcast that. I'm like, yeah, that sounds stupid. Like, why would you just listen to someone talking for an hour when you can listen to music?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But then I started listening to him because someone told me it's a good therapeutic thing to do, and I started listening to it, and I haven't listened to the radio since, and that's been about a year and a half.
I tell you what, I think my first encounters with podcasts was the true crime case file ones.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone was talking about them. Everyone was going on, you got to listen to these true crime, you got to listen to this. And I was like, nah, I'm not into that. That sounds stupid. And then I was in the car with my girlfriend and we were driving and she put one on, and at first I was like, do we have to listen to this? I really don't want to listen to this. Fast forward about 6 months and I've listened to 56 of these.
56? Good 56, lord.
And they're about an hour to 2 hours long. I've listened to 56 of them.
Well, I pretty much only exclusively listen to wrestling podcasts. I listen to a hell of a lot of wrestling podcasts, but yeah, it's awesome. It gets me through my day. I drive an hour and a half, or just over an hour and a half to and from work every day, so I get through an episode pretty damn quickly. So it's really good to have that to listen to, because I think I would go insane just listening to music every day. So anyway, we've gone way off topic of what we were even going to start, but so player issue and match-worn jumper collections. Something that I'm very, I guess, versed on, I suppose, because I have been collecting for a little while, but there's a huge market, I guess.
When did it start?
2014 it started. So 5 years I've been collecting for, which is not anywhere near as long as a lot of other people that I know of, but I managed to get myself up the fair collection in that short period of time. So stomach just had a bit of a rumble then, so glad we got a snack, but we've already eaten a snack before we started, so
2 left, mate. Dig in.
Oh, 1 each. Chugs away. Anyway, so where were we?
Full disclosure, it's 10 p.m. at night right now, and I'm very, very tired.
It's 20 to 10. I'm just getting started. This is my my daytime, really.
It's 10. 20 to 10.
So, anyway, jumper collecting. So, I know there are a lot of us out there, and I read about these a lot, and I thought this would be a great way to really get to know each other a little bit more personally. So, I had the opportunity to speak about my collection on the radio recently quite a lot, and it kind of shocked me. I didn't expect it, or what I really didn't expect was the people who was interviewing me were quite blown away that the match-worn and player issue collecting type thing was such a big deal. They were all very, very surprised, and they just wanted to keep asking me more and more questions, and it just kind of hit me that this is actually a topic that I really enjoy talking about, and I found that people enjoyed listening to. So it's kind of how we come up with the idea to do this, and I just threw it out there one night and had a huge response from it, and were very for it. So we got it together pretty quickly. Josh is quite versed in podcasting, has had successful podcasts, fairly successful podcasts in the past, so he was naturally my go-to because I've never done anything like this. So here we are. And
Yes, here we are.
Here we are indeed. And the first guest, because we aren't good enough to get anybody else in, will be none other than myself. So Josh is going to take over the role of the interviewer today, and I shall be his subject. So, without further ado, we'll get cracking.
That's it. Welcome. Welcome to the first guest and also host, Erin.
Oh, thank you very much.
We'll start it off with a very, very simple question. Just
This is
warm
tough.
things up. Which team do you support?
Oh, okay. So, now, and I guess I'll say now, because when I was a child, I supported West Coast Eagles.
Boo.
And that may come off as a big surprise to a lot of people who may know me, or may not know me that well, because I'm now a massive Fremantle supporter. The reason I switched is kind of varied, I guess. I was, 9 years old when the Dockers came along. Eagles just won their second premiership, and I remember sitting on the floor watching that in the lounge room and absolutely loved it. But I think I've always been a fan of the underdog, and my favourite colour is purple. I don't know if that makes me queer or not, but so be it. Always loved purple, and I remember sitting in the library at school, and the teachers came up to us with a piece of paper and said we were going to be involved in the voting process to vote on the Dockers' name. So Fremantle, whatever, and I remember some terrible names on there. Like there was the Sharks, which was okay. And they had Dockers and I think Dolphins. And there was I think it was Pelicans or Seagulls. It was awful, whatever it was. So
Rough.
the Fremantle Pelicans would have been, we definitely would have been a laughing stock for all time then.
Yeah.
So easy switch. My mum's from Fremantle as well, so
I think you find a lot of the Fremantle supporters were West Coast supporters, but had affiliation to Fremantle. So obviously, naturally, when a team comes along, then
yeah, no doubt. I mean, I supported South Fremantle in the Waffle as well.
yeah,
So
there you go.
again, it was an easy step over. It's hard when people ask about West Coast because I'll always give them a little bit of a chirp. However, when I'm watching them, I kind of hope they do well, and I'll still support them from afar. But as soon as we play against each other, it's all guns blazing. Like I'm full death and hate for all things blue and yellow. So,
Yeah.
But no, I do secretly hope they do well, and I have watched the grand finals that they have been in the last few years, and I have cheered them on every time. So.
Tell you what, last year's one of the best grand finals I've seen.
Yeah, we watched that together, which I think is probably the first one we've ever watched together, isn't it? Did we? No, that was me and my missus.
We really didn't watch
It was me and him, yeah. No, we were texting about it at the time, but
Yeah, that was a great grand final.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I don't think the missus was too happy about me making a bet on the West Coast for the game, but I wouldn't say I'm outright Eagles supporter when they're playing not against Fremantle, but I'll certainly be a little bit deep down hoping they do okay. So, yeah, after all that, I support Fremantle.
Very simple one-word answer
Yeah.
to suffice, but that's all right.
So for
We'll
future
go-
guests,
go for the
just one word's great.
5-minute answer. Okay, so you support Fremantle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's a sort of, I was about to say more simple question, but could be not so simple.
It could take a while.
How many Guernseys are in the collection?
Do you know what? I've actually forgotten, and you'd think I would have researched that before we jumped on here. But last count, and do you know what? On my phone is literally every single jumper of mine catalogued.
Yep.
So it makes it really, really simple. If I quickly just jump in here, and I can tell you, I have 31 that aren't Fremantle, and I have 175 that are Fremantle. So that's not that many, surprisingly enough. Like that's only what 225 or whatever.
206.
206. So that is actually nowhere near as much as I had a year ago.
Yeah, what do you think the biggest it's been is? The biggest the collection has been?
It hit 300. Exactly 300. Because I had to hit 300 before, unfortunately, I had to start selling some because we were going to America.
Yep.
And unfortunately, life takes way sometimes where you've got to make some sacrifices and let go of some of your collection. So I made sure I hit number 300. The very next day, I started to cull some down.
Now, how did this all begin? How did you end up with 206 Guernseys sitting in the spare room.
So, yeah, I'll have to put some photos up of that one day so you can all see where they actually sit. But so it started in 2014, as mentioned. I think we're all just being massive sports fans. You just want to have something from your favorite sporting stars or whatever, or even just the games themselves or whatever. But yeah, that's where mine started. I never really knew where you could get a hold of them. And I think I just stumbled. I think maybe the Dockers actually had a post up one day advertising their auction, possibly for the end of season auction in 2014. So I went on there, and I was already a big fan of David Mundy and had met him numerous times, thought him to be quite a good bloke. And he was a great player. And his jumper was sitting at $50, which was ridiculous with a couple of days to go. And I managed to win it for $80, which was his match worn 2014 season worn. It was completely wrecked when I got it. And I was just couldn't believe it. $80. Like, wow.
Yeah.
I never thought I could get it that cheap. So, yeah, so that's where it started, and it just completely exploded from there.
I think I just remembered about that time, probably about 2014, 2015, us going to Jim Kidd, and they had a lot of, I think, GWS. Yeah. GWS player issued Guernseys.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure like Mundy was the first one definitely was the first one I had, but then I hadn't had another jumper until, we went to Jim Kidd's in Coburn, Western Australia, for those playing at home. And they had a complete rack full of 2013 player issue GWS jumpers. And I was like, what is this?
Going for like $20.
Yeah, $15 to $20.
And I think that's probably one of the first Guernseys I got was that, because I just remember feeling it. I didn't even want to collect it. I just remember feeling it and going, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And just buying it just to wear while I kick the footy around.
Yeah, I immediately knew what it was because I just picked up the Monday, and I just straight away knew that something was different about these because they felt different. And the pouches on the back, the GPS pouch, which we'll probably learn a lot more about as we go along.
But they didn't come with certificate at all.
Oh, no COA. Fake. So they are fake. Yeah, so everyone that bought one off me, they are fake. I'm very sorry because there's no COA. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that in future.
Yeah.
But no, so you bought one for yourself. I think you bought one for your brother Zach as well.
I did, yep.
And I picked up every other one. So I think it was about 18 of them. So that got my collection really going because obviously I just picked up 18 jumpers in one day, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I sold a number of them because there were some great jumpers in there. There was Callum Ward and Jeremy Cameron, and
there were some really good jumpers in there.
And that was a dog on the outside of the door, which we were trying to keep very quiet. But there we go. Anyway, so there were some crackers in there. So Will Hoskin Elliott. Don't know what's going on out there. So they sold quite well very quickly, and that obviously gave me enough to start really boosting up my collection with other Fremantle jumpers, because it really did start with pretty much Fremantle to begin with.
Yeah.
Don't ask me what my second one was because I don't remember after all those ones.
So Jim Kidd obviously was a weird place to find some. I believe you found an op shop one before.
I've found many op shop ones, many.
Yeah.
And they haven't always been anything spectacular.
Yeah.
But the amount of just sort of older ones you find just in the op shops is just mind blowing. I don't know whether it's the players just have them in their garage or whatever, they just don't want them anymore and they just donate them, or grandma's just throwing out her old jumpers that they're just sitting in the back of the closet. They could have come from anywhere. I'd love to hear some of the stories where they come from sometimes, but obviously you're never going to because they're in an op shop. Exactly. But it's crazy what you can find. I couldn't tell you what I found specifically, but I do remember finding some. Oh, no, I do remember once. Unbelievable jumper. I'll get very excited about this sort of stuff. There's a particular op shop that I found that I will not disclose because it is an actual gold mine. Thankfully, Josh knows where it is, so he can help me out every now and then.
Yeah.
I go to this place at least once every fortnight, and it's massive. It's like a friggin' warehouse. As soon as I walked in the door, I could just spot the colour. And if you know what you're looking for, you can spot it from a mile away. And I spotted the colour of this jumper, thinking, it's a retail probably, because it's a cool design. It was the 97 BGC pre-season West Coast. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a weird looking jumper, but cool design. It's kind of a cult design. It's one of those type of things that you probably hated it at the time, but later on in the future, everyone loves it because it's hard to get, and everyone's like, yeah, I need that because it's a cool part of the collection.
Yeah.
As soon as I turned it around and I saw Chad Morrison's number on the back sublimated into the material, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it was signed.
That's cool. Cool.
I paid $25 for it.
Far out.
Which is absolutely mental.
Yeah.
And that's like way expensive for an op shop. So I was like, you're kidding me, $25. And I was like, wait a minute, this is worth a lot more than that. So yeah, I'm cool to pay that. Then I ended up selling it later on. Can't remember why, but I ended up selling it for about $300. Which a few of the Eagles guys were like, wow, that's really cheap. You should have got like $400 to $500 for that. So I wish I kept it now because that was awesome.
Insane. What is the biggest jumper you've ever found or gotten?
Biggest one I've ever got before now. Oh, that's a hard one. Like, you don't ask collectors things like that. But yeah, I've probably gone over this in my head multiple times. But it's gonna have to be. I found a guy who was selling a jumper on a Facebook page, and I literally just messaged him and said, "Oh, do you have any more jumpers?" And he's like, yeah, I've got another one. It's a Nat 5 jumper. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be cool, because I didn't have any 5s in the collection at the time. And I thought, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd just like to see it. So he sends me a message, and it was a 20-year anniversary, 2014 5e player issue. 5e match worn, which sold at auction for like $1,500. And I was like, holy crap, this guy's going to want a lot of money for this. But I thought, you know what, why not? I'll go after it and see what he wants. And he's like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to sell it or whatever. He obviously wasn't that excited about it. But I could tell he would get rid of it because he seemed like he just wanted money rather than the jumper. So I just said, I'll just take $1,000 for it, which at the time was a hell of a lot of money. And until very recently, that was the most I've ever paid for a jumper. So yeah, I grabbed that. And my favourite jumper I'll probably bring up later, but that one's quite recent. So up until very recently, I would say it would have to be the 5. Although I do have a 97 long sleeve match worn Robert Harvey, which was amazing, and I absolutely love. Yeah, and it'll probably stay in my collection forever.
Very nice, very nice Guernsey. So op shops, Gym Kid, online auctions.
Yep.
Where else? Any other places that you?
Oh, I mean, I spent way too much time on Gumtree and eBay. Just literally probably every 5 minutes, even while I was at work, every 5 minutes I'd open up eBay and just refresh. Newly listed, refresh. Gumtree, same thing, just consistently refreshing. It pretty much ridiculous after a while. It definitely was an addiction.
Yeah.
And an obsession, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was literally every 5 minutes, and I'm not joking at all. Like, it was every 5 minutes. But you had to. It was insane, the amount of jumpers that would pop up, and you just have to jump on them like that because you'd miss out because someone else would be doing the same thing as you. And you'd miss out, and you'd be, oh my God, I've just missed out on something incredible. And it happened to me multiple times. So the amount of times I'd be like, nah, I've got to jump on every 5 minutes because otherwise I'm going to miss out. It just got a little bit insane after a while. But I contact clubs as well.
Yep.
I do have some contacts at multiple clubs, which comes in extremely handy. I actually picked up a Tip and Woody jumper last week because one of the Essendon guys actually contacted me because I'm one of those pests that constantly send out emails.
Yeah.
Have you guys got anything in stock? Just constantly, and eventually they'll email you back and say, oh, just let you know we've got a bunch of jumpers, and I'll jump on those. So yeah, I do have multiple contacts around the place, which help me out very, very much. So yeah, you pretty much just got to look absolutely everywhere. Because they all pop up anywhere, like garage sales and things like that. I go to everything because you never know what you'll find.
Yep. No, I love it. Now, the Nat 5 one cost $1,000. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you'd, until recently, that was the most you'd spent on a Guernsey. Mm-hmm. What was the until recently?
Okay.
How much did you spend?
Actually, when you break it down, it's actually not that bad at all. Because you look at other, like the Brisbane Lions auction just ended for the Indigenous jumpers.
Yeah. What
was the most expensive one on there?
I don't know. I stopped looking I think it had a day or two to go, and Eric Hipwood's was over $1,000.
Yeah, okay. That's not what I was expecting, to be honest. I reckon Hodges probably would have gone for over 1,600, right?
I think Hipwood's was leading the charge. But there was about 2 days left on it when it was hit $1,000. It hit $1,100.
I know Hodges was going over 1,600 on the... Well, they auctioned off something recently. The Anzac jumpers. Yeah. They went well over 1,600. Anyway, and the reason I'm bringing that up is because you only play 300 games once.
Yeah.
So to see something like a David Mundy jumper pop up for his 300th game, and those of you who know me, and you will after a while of this podcast, know that I am a huge fan of David Mundy. And so when his 300 game jumper popped up, I really needed it. I had to have it. Even though I kind of never expected that I would actually be able to afford it, I was like, yeah, I got to have that. So I gave it a crack, and I gave it a crack early. I thought, shit, I'm going to throw my hand at this straight away. And I bid my highest bid like immediately and thought, all right, in 2 weeks' time, we'll see how we go. And one person bid me up to $1,500.
Yeah.
And she was the only other person that bid against me. And I feel like I did the right thing by bidding early because she stopped at $1,500.
Yep.
And for a week it sat there and never moved. And then it ended at $1,500. So add on your fees and it ended up at $1,665. And that was the most I've ever spent on a jumper. And I think for a 300 game jumper, that is incredibly cheap.
Pretty good. It's very good.
Yeah, so I'm absolutely stoked to have that. And that would be definitely my number one jumper in my collection now as well.
What's number 2?
Yeah, no, number 2, I think I'll have to go to Rob Harvey.
Yeah.
The long sleeve Rob Harvey. It's just, I think Rob Harvey was my favourite player of all time, probably before Dave Mundy.
Yep.
He's just so silky smooth, and just watch him run around the field, he was just so good to watch. Incredible player. Always kept his nose clean, just got out there and did his job, and he was awesome. So to have something from his Brownlow year and have him look at it and go, yeah, that is awesome. I love seeing this is great. Is just really incredible to experience that, which is why I'll probably never leave my collection.
Perfect. Love it. I love it.
And to actually just expand on the Mundy 300 jumper, the reason that came about is because I was attempting to win the game ball from the day, which the Dockers actually did a competition for, which is where the radio interviews came in. I was trying my very best, trying everything to get this damn ball. Anyway, the short story is I didn't win it, and that pissed me off. So I was like, I got to have something from the game, so I went straight after his jumper, and I now own both. So I actually picked up the ball yesterday from the lovely young lady who won the thing and decided to sell it to me for a fairly nice price, I guess. I could say a lot worse, but I'm just going to leave it at that.
So you've got the Mundy milestone. Are there any other Freo Docker milestone games that you've got in your collection?
I've got Sam Collins' debut jumper. Those of you who don't know Sam Collins, he now plays for the Gold Coast Suns, and he's actually ripping it up in the back line down there. I was Devo when we lost him. So I have his debut jumper, which was actually an Indigenous jumper in 2016. And I showed him it at open training one day, and he tried to steal it off me. I said, "This is your debut jumper?" He's like, "Yeah, it is." And he went to walk off with it. And then I was like, no, mate, you give that back. So, Sam, if you're listening ever at all, no, you can't have it. I have Nat 5's 100th game ball. I've probably got some others, but to be honest, I've never even thought of that. It's a good question. Well done. I might have to look into that.
Nothing for Pavs?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I have Pav's last game ball as well.
Oh, there you go.
And it wasn't the one that was kicked into the crowd and someone took off with. Well, it could be, actually, but I actually never asked the question. So, yeah, so that was pretty cool. I did have the ball, one of the balls from his last game. I'm pretty stoked to have that.
Any players that have worn that Guernsey in his last game?
Yeah. I have multiple
Oh, there you go.
Multiple jumpers from that game, actually. I've got Dave Mundy's jumper from that game. Match worn. I also picked up 5's unworn because he was injured. But it still cost me exactly the same, which is interesting. That was pretty damn expensive. They were like $465 each, which is actually cheap for the Mundy, but 5 was interesting. But yeah, I think I got about 10 of those. Yeah. They weren't from the auction. They were picked up later on in like the store. They chucked them up on the racks for about $100 each, and I picked them all up. I was like, yeah, I'll take all those, thanks. So, yeah.
How many of them are signed and how many are unsigned? And do you have a preference on whether they're signed or not?
Probably more than half are signed. Yeah, I do have a preference, and I'd prefer them not to be signed. Because yeah, it's something that probably not a lot of people would want.
Yeah.
If it's a older player who's currently not playing and they're kind of hard to get a hold of, I'd probably rather it signed.
Yeah.
But if it's someone that I can go to a training or go to a game and catch them afterwards or whatever, I prefer to try and get it signed myself.
Yeah.
It's, I'm a 33-year-old man, but even when I'm getting the jumpers signed, and even if they're an 18-year-old kid, it's a bit weird, but I really enjoy the thrill of getting them to sign their jumper, and even more so the thrill of watching them sign their jumper, especially if it's for one of their first ever times. Like even this year at open training, I had Scott Jones and Stephen Gyro look at their jumpers and go, "Oh, that's my number." And I was like, "Yeah, it's your jumper." And they were like, "Oh, wow, I've never actually signed my own jumper. This is cool." So, I mean, that gives me a thrill as well. Yeah. I really enjoy that type of thing. Can be really hard, though.
Bit more story to the collection.
Yeah, absolutely. I love telling the story. I mean, I love posting on Instagram and Facebook and then them seeing that later on and going, "Oh, like I remember this. This is really cool." So it gives them something, I guess, to look back on as well. But yeah, it's a really good thrill. But yeah, it can be really difficult getting some players to sign it. It gets pretty insane at those open trainings and things like that. And some players you just can't get to.
All right, so you prefer unsigned. What about framed or unframed?
Definitely unframed.
Yeah.
If a jumper comes framed, I'm usually like, "Oh yeah, cool, I'll leave it in the frame." And then 3 or 4 days later, it ends up outside of the frame because I just have to see what's on the other side.
Yeah.
I do have one at the moment that's on my wall. It's a Peter Bell Kangaroos jumper, and I'm trying very, very hard to not pull that apart and have a look because you never know, it could have a 99 grand final iron on the front of it. So something like that just itches away at me. I'm trying to sleep at night and I see it and I'm just like, God damn, I want to see what's on the other side of that. And so, no, I'm terrible for framed. I think I've decided about 18 times that I'm going to frame a certain jumper. Yeah. It never ends up happening.
I remember getting my first jumper and what did I get? Luke McGuan, match worn from the player name round.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember getting it and going, I'm going to get this framed. And it's still hanging up with all the other ones that I'm going to get framed. It's all just still hanging up. I think there's one that I definitely want to get framed, and that's my Simon Black.
Oh yeah,
Black Guernsey.
Yeah.
And I want to get that framed with a Brownlow medal and a Norm Smith.
Yeah, that look really cool.
Works. But it's just going to cost a bit and take a while to actually do. Mine's
not even the cost factor really. It's I make the decision, I'm going to frame this, and then the next day I'm like, I can't frame it because then I'll look at it and go, man, I need to I'll just hold it and show it off, and I can't, and it kills me. Like I'm now again 50-50 on getting the Dave Money 300 jumper framed. I'd really love to, but unless I do it in such a way that I'm like, yeah, cool, I'm satisfied with that. Just don't know if it'll ever happen.
I think that with the ball.
Yeah.
Very pricey.
Well, I'm working.
Very cool.
Yeah, it will be pricey, but that's fine. I'm actually working on getting Dave's boots off him from that game as well. He has said he'll give them to me. However, he may forget. But I'll continue to work on him until I hope cool. I get those boots. And
that would be very cool.
Yeah, if I can get all three of them in the frame together, that'd be sick. So I think that would satisfy me enough to leave it in there, I think.
Boots, balls, anything else? Player issued or match worn that you've collected?
From the AFL?
Yeah.
I've got just, a lot of training stuff that Dave's actually given me. He's given me his bags, which is just filled with his old training gear. I've got a bunch of different boots. I've got Lockie Neal's boo. I've got Lockie Neal's boots from 2015, first couple of rounds. I think the funnest part is actually to photo match sometimes.
How much do you want to sell them for?
Yeah, no. I might spit on him first. No, I won't. He's a good dude. It's unfortunate that he left us, but look, he's looking at a Brownlow medal, I think, in the next, if not this year, next year maybe. But no, you can't have him. Anyway, so I actually just picked up some Michael Barlow boot from 2012.
Wow.
For $65.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was stoked with that. Yeah. I have a pair of Dave Mundy's boots from 2006, which he recognised immediately when I showed him, which was really cool. And I've got a pair of Jeff Farmer boots, which the whole Indigenous mob at the time signed, and it looks super cool. Yeah, I've got many balls, not necessarily anything to do with Fremantle either. I've got the grand final ball from the first AFLW. Yeah, a lot of stuff, to be honest. I've got David Mundy's PS3 console, his own personal console.
That sitting up there.
That was an interesting story when he came into work. So I actually met him probably 10 years ago, and he came into work just to talk games with me. And then probably 4 years ago, he came into work again with his PS3, and he was like, "Oh, I want to trade him a PS3." I was like, "No, mate. How much do you want for it? I'll just give you the cash." And he's like, "Why the hell would you want my old PS3?" I was like, "Just don't ask." So I gave him $60, and I said, "But you have to sign it for me." So he signed a really cool gold pen, and he wrote "Gaming and Freo for Life," and signed it. Nice big signature. It looks awesome on the black console.
It looks very cool.
So that's definitely one of my pride and joys, which I'll never let go. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff, a hell of a lot of stuff. It kind of just blends all into one, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a lot happening. There's a lot happening. Moving aside from Fremantle and David Mundy, is there any jumpers from any other club that you'd wish you had?
I wish I had.
Get your hands onto.
Any other club that I wish I could have? That's really hard. I've kind of had jumpers from, I have had jumpers from every club, but I kind of have been able to get my hands on pretty much everybody that I wanted. Like Wayne Carey was a big one that I really wanted, which I did manage to get my hands on. I know I missed out on an Adelaide Crows Wayne Carey for $60
Ooh.
a couple of years ago, which I will remember vividly. I was at work and I hesitated for about 30 seconds. And I went back to get it because I was like, I can't let this go. And it was gone. And yeah, I'll never forget that. But I have managed to get my hands on a North Melbourne Wayne Carey. So, and I've got a Rob Harvey. I've had a Gary Ablett Jr. From Gold Coast and from Geelong. I've had me a Dusty Martin. So it's kind of hard actually to say what I'd kind of like to get.
It's had Ben Cousins as well.
I've had a few Ben Cousins, yes. I've had Judd. Yeah, that's tough. I think, I don't know. That's a hard one.
I've had a Jonathan Brown. I think you've pretty much had all the big
names.
names.
I've had quite a few of the big names, and they have unfortunately left the collection, but
I think a Simon Black would be cool.
Simon Black would be pretty cool. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say no. There have been a few pop up, but
I've got his training Guernsey.
Yeah. I've never pulled the trigger on Simon Black for some reason.
Yeah.
I've seen him pop up, but just never have. I probably wouldn't go on any one current day. It would probably have to, believe it or not, it'd probably be an Eagles player. I think something around like the 94, 95 era of the Eagles, I think would be pretty cool. Something like a Peter Matera.
Glenn Jakovic.
No. Don't know why. I've just never been interested in getting a Jacko. No, I was always obviously enamoured by Peter Matera and definitely Dean Kemp. I think a Dean Kemp would be really cool. Peter Sumich would be great to get, although he didn't go so well at Fremantle in his last season, but that's something for the club to let out if they ever do. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, probably something from the early Eagles when I was probably still a fan. Would be pretty cool.
Something from the Premiership, the early Premiership years.
Yeah.
The first two.
Yeah, 92 or 94 Premiership would be really cool. I know some guys that do have grand final jumpers from those games, and they're pretty damn cool to see.
Be very expensive if they.
Yeah, shit, yeah.
Now, this collection, 206 items sitting in it.
Mm-hmm.
The constant scrolling through and looking for something to add.
Mm.
Hobby, addiction, investment. What's the verdict? What do you classify this as?
Definitely all three.
Yeah.
It has to be. I think started out as a hobby and definitely became an addiction very, very quickly. And then just the amount that I bought, I had no qualms in just getting anything. I would see a player issue jumper, I didn't care who it was, what it was, and I'd just buy it.
Yeah. Which
at that point is an obsession, an addiction.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? A lot of the times I was buying them super cheap. So sometimes I was just thinking, you know what? Yeah, I'll just buy that because later on I might be able to sell it for more whenever I need it. I never just sold it just for cash purposes, just for general cash purchases. It'd always be a reason. So, for instance, when I said I went from 300 down to 206 is because I sold a lot of jumpers to fund our trip to America. And I'd have no regrets about that whatsoever. Yeah, I had to let go some pretty good jumpers, but I had one of the most amazing time in America that I would not take any of that back whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely some investment in there as well, because I've still got probably at least 15 grand's worth, I would say minimum, in the collection. A lot of it I wouldn't let go, but there's still plenty in there that, yeah, I'd let go if I had to. And
there's a few, especially those older ones that were sort of 10 years down the track, become a lot more expensive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that Fremantle Dockers jumpers, they go for stupidly cheap prices at the moment because, they're just not, I guess, wanted by anybody other than the few Fremantle supporters that we have.
Yeah.
But I know eventually they're actually going to start doing well and start winning something, and players like Fife and that'll just become more and more valuable.
It's funny you say that though, because in the 5 years that I've been collecting, been able to pick up Brisbane Lion Guernseys fairly cheap off the auction sites.
Yeah.
And we've been getting hammered for those 5 years. We've been getting absolutely trampled over.
I know that feeling all too well.
This year, we win a couple of games. Just as well.
Yeah.
We're not thumping anyone. We're just winning these games.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, these auction prices are just going through the roof.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane. I quite often will sit there and watching a game knowing that the auction's going to be straight after the game, thinking, I really hope we lose this game. Or that let Mundy or Fife or whatever has just an awful game because I'll pick one up cheap. It's a horrible thing to want because you want your team to play well.
Yeah.
But then you're sitting there going, man, I want that jumper so badly. I hope they lose because no one's going to rock up to the auction. They're just going to screw that. It's a crap game. I don't want that jumper. So, it's an odd feeling to have when you're wishing your team to lose, but not really. In the back of my mind, I'm like, God damn, I want to win this game. But when we lose, I'm like, yes, I'm going to get a good cheap jumper here. So
I know the last Lions game, the auction went live at the start of the game. So I was watching the game and I think Matheson kicked a goal straight away. I was like, sweet. It was a great goal.
Yeah.
Bid on that. Rayner kicked a great goal. So I bid on his. Optimistically bidding as well. I think I just sort of wanted to play my role in it for the first bid. They all went for way too much.
Yeah.
I could pick them up for their reserve prices
in
the last few years. And now they're going for, I think the cheapest was probably about $280, $300.
Yeah, actually.
For a player issue as well. That's even worn.
It's funny you say that because I know that a lot of them in the last 2 years never sold at all and they'd end up at the team store for $100.
Yeah.
And they've probably still got some today that they haven't sold yet. Yeah, it's mental that how quickly things change when your team's actually winning.
Yeah.
And like you say, Brisbane's got, some pretty wealthy people up there. So all it takes is a win and they go, oh, you beauty, I'm going to jump on Brizzo jumpers again and chuck me up on the wall and mate, I'm never going to look at it again, but I'm going to spend a shitload of money on it and some poor bloke who really wants it is never going to get it. But
that's all right.
Yeah, so it is upsetting when you see those jumpers go to people that don't really deserve them, but yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
I've been to the Gabba twice now, and both times I've been to the store, and they actually have just racks full of the player issued ones.
Yeah.
But the problem is they're like $150 to $200.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just too much.
It's funny you say that. I mean, if you were supporting Carlton or even Port Adelaide or something like that, then you'd be like, oh my God, $150 to $200, I'll jump on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just slightly out of the range. Like it's the same with me. If I was looking at a Fremantle jumper and sitting on the rack and it was a Taylor and Domain jumper or something and it's $150, I'm like, meh, I can pass.
I think I just got it easy for the first maybe 10 that I got. I picked up for like $60 to $80.
Yeah.
And then that was sort of where my expectations were. And
Yeah.
then I picked up Daniel Rich for $150.
Yeah.
And the Simon Black one for $150, $160 or something like that. So,
well, that Daniel Rich was match worn as well. So I mean, that was a steal at that price.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I've just been given some. Like I've got a couple in the collection that are match worn.
Yeah, I actually
Got
wouldn't
them for
mind
free as
hearing
well.
about the couple you just picked up. Actually.
Yeah, I got 2 from an ex-Brisbane Lions player, Elliot Yeo,
Ooh.
who now plays for West Coast. So I've got a heritage from, when would it have been? 2013? Maybe?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember which ones are. Because I kind of just took them out of the bag and threw them up on the rack and that was it.
Yeah, I remember you sent me the photo and I was like, damn, that is sick. Like I'm excited. And I know Eagles fans are probably like looking at it and go, oh, it's a Brisbane jumper, but they'll clamor over it going, oh yeah, sweet, Elliot, oh, that's sweet.
Heritage, it was the Heritage one.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, it's a 2013.
Yep, and then the back-to-back-to-back.
Yeah, the three-peat jumper.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Which is very cool.
And both of them belong to Elliot Yeo and were given to you by Elliot Yeo, which that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I've never actually had a player just give me their jumper. I've bought some jumpers off players, but never actually just given it, which is really cool.
Yeah, no, they're great jumpers. Very sort of two that I'd wanted to get my hands on. I think there's a couple left that I wouldn't mind getting. One coming up next weekend. This weekend's game, the Bulldog one.
Oh yeah,
great one to get.
When the Bulldog is
Kevin Bulldog Murray.
Yeah, so not the Western Bulldogs.
No. And then we had that horrible yellow, but it's the Bears one. It's like that horrible yellow.
The piss stain one.
No.
Oh, I was gonna say that thing.
Guernsey.
Really?
I've got one of those.
You'd be the only one in the world that would like that.
I don't remember whose it is.
I reckon Rob might like that too.
I think I really love that because that was the first one I had as a kid that someone bought. So that was my first proper
I do actually remember you wearing that as a kid too, yeah.
Before that, I just had like real cheap, like best and less quality, like they were roughly the colours of the Brisbane Lions.
Something that Nana knitted for you.
Number 28. I can't remember whose it was. But it's...
Troy Selwood, eh?
No, I don't think it would have been.
I just swore that was.
It's signed by the whole team, but it's got this horrible blue, like... tackle over because it came out of the frame. Yeah. You got it for me. I did.
I remember that, yes.
I can't remember whose it is.
I'm pretty sure I got it off Gumtree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that Guernsey. No, it's like blue and it's just got the B. The B.
Oh, really?
They're the ones I want to get.
Yeah, that's
love
sick.
That one.
Oh, you mean the old school one?
The Brisbane Bears heritage ones.
Yeah, right.
Can't remember what year we wore them. Maybe 2014.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. No, that'd be really cool.
They would be cool. I just love the heritage. I think that's one of the bonuses of having a team that's sort of two teams that came into one.
Yeah.
You've got two different histories, two different sets of heritage Guernseys to collect.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes it exciting.
That's kind of what Freo had as well. They had basically wore a East Fremantle jumper one year, which was 2007, and they wore a South Fremantle in 2006.
Yeah.
And I think 3, 4, 5, and 6, which was weird when you look at it back in footage because they look very odd wearing blue and white. But yeah, for collectors like us, I've got Josh Carr's from the East Fremantle one, and I've got actually another good story out of that is I actually have Brett Peake's jumper from 2006. The guy sold it to me as a Brett Peake match worn, and it had his signature on the front, which I was like, yeah, okay, cool. But it was framed. And again, I have to pull everything out of the frame. So I did within probably a week. I was like, yeah, it's going to come out because I've got to see the number. Because it kind of looked like two numbers from when I was looking through the frame. I was like, it kind of looks like two. So I'm like, yeah, I've got to have it out.
Yeah.
Pulled it out, and it was number 17. And Brett Peake's number 7 at that time. He was number 7. So I thought, you bastard.
Yeah.
You screwed me here telling me this is a match-worn Peake. I was pissed for weeks until I went back and actually watched the footage. And I'm glad I did because it made it a hell of a good story because actually during the second or third quarter, he had his jumper torn completely in half. And he went off, came back on, and third quarter he was wearing number 17 for the rest of the game. So that was Jared Schofield's number 17. He wasn't playing the day.
Yeah.
So things like that, when it was someone's wearing another player's number, and it's got a story to it, is awesome. So that was wicked, and
very cool.
That was just a story that came out of a heritage talk. But yeah, I love that sort of stuff, and actually just brings up another point where Dave Mundy, actually, he wore number 23 this week.
Yes.
That I have to get my hands on. And I've already got my feelers out there and I'm hoping to get it. But yeah, I've never seen him wear another number, so I immediately messaged him and said, get me that damn jumper.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he wouldn't. He wouldn't steal it for me out of the locker room, but I'm hoping to get my hands on that because that would be another thing that something like us collectors would be like, hell yes, you're one of your best favourite players wearing another number.
Yeah.
Especially an Indigenous jumper, so you can tell what it is.
Yeah.
And he bled all over the damn thing, so something like that would be wicked.
That would be a very cool,
Yeah.
very cool piece to add to the collection.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm certainly going to do my best to get a hold of it too.
Now, what's the most hated thing for you in the collecting world?
Okay, well, there is a lot. However, most hated thing I have is when you go on a forum, on a Facebook page or buy and sell or whatever, and someone's got their jumper up for sale.
Yep.
And people bag the living shizenhausen out of people who have their jumpers up for a certain price. Say you've got a, I don't know, Elliot Brisbane jumper up for $200. Some moron will no doubt jump on there and say, dickhead's worth 20.
Yeah.
Stuff you.
Yeah.
It's worth whatever someone wants to pay for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It may not be worth your 200. It may be worth 300 to somebody.
Yeah.
And they'll be willing to tell you that too. I've had multiple times where I've had a jumper up for a certain price. I remember one instance, actually, it was a Melbourne jumper. I had it up for... it was a St Kilda jumper. I had it up for $80.
Yeah.
And the guy messaged me and said, mate, this is worth more than this, and I'm willing to pay it because there was a lot of interest in the jumper. So I'm willing to give you $150. Actually, I think it was $200 he offered me. I thought, that's insane. But it's just the point where someone might look at that jumper and say, this is only worth like $50. I can get this for $50. Good on you, mate. But someone out there who knows the worth to them might offer you more because it's worth it to them.
Yeah.
Jumper.
That's exactly right.
No jumper has any real worth. It's a piece of material that may or may not have been worn on the field. There's no real worth to it. The only worth comes from whatever someone wants to give you for it.
Yeah.
So in my mind, my collection is worth really nothing unless someone wants to give me money for it. So that pisses me off, is when you just see people jumping down people's throats or commenting on someone's posts with just absolute gibberish that they may know nothing about, because generally they don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
They say, oh, this isn't even real. Has it got a COA? Because otherwise it's fake. Yeah, good on you, mate. Yeah, just that's what frustrates me the most, is just mind your own business.
I don't even think I have a COA. I probably have one, and that's the Luke McGuire one.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, the great COA debate is, I think, something that we have to cover later, because it's going to be a very long discussion, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, if you don't have anything to say that you actually know about the item that's up, just don't bother. If it's something you don't like or aren't interested in, just don't even bother saying anything. I think I may have said it once, and I think someone had something up, and I think I was in a bad mood that day, and I was like, man, I'll give you $10. And so I did exactly the same thing as what I hate. But the guy just said, mate, what'd you bother saying that for? Was there any need? Was what he said, actually. Was there any need for that? And I said, no, absolutely not. And I'm really, really sorry. I apologize. That was a dick thing to do. And ever since then, I would never do that to anybody else, because I sell jumpers fairly often, and I pretty much will cop some shit every single time I put something up.
Yeah.
And it gives me the biggest shit. So watching other people to do it to others, it drives me insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my biggest hate, I think. And there are many, many more, which no doubt we'll cover in future episodes. But yes, please, just don't be a dick.
And now, just on that, we'll wrap it up with one final question.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, don't be a dick is a very good piece of advice. But is there any other bits of advice you'd give to someone who's looking to start a collection, is just starting out, what to look for, what to be careful of?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of resources out there, and it's generally other collectors. You can go to clubs and ask them questions, but quite often they don't even know. Because generally they'll look at it and go, oh, it's just another piece of material that someone's worn, but they don't really know the history of certain things. So your best research is to ask other collectors, which are on pages, groups, things like that. Big Footy even. I know Port Adelaide, you'd easily be able to figure that out because they got such a huge following and groups galore. And there's heaps of real good historians in that lot who will be able to tell you exactly what you've got, what you're looking at. So definitely do your research. Just look everywhere. Like I know I said it becomes an addiction, but definitely you have to do it if you want to start collecting specific things. You're going to have to look a lot. Really narrow your searches on eBay. Jumper, jersey, Guernsey is definitely something you want to put in because it can end up literally any of those three that they'll put up.
Yeah.
So you got to be real careful with what you're searching for. And just don't be a dick. Again, it's real simple. If you're a 15, 16-year-old kid, don't start talking crap on someone else's post because generally you're too young to know what you're talking about. Learn about the items first and just understand what it is. I actually quite like when there's a 15, 16-year-old kid or whatever who's getting into it and they'll message and ask questions constantly. Yes, it can be frustrating, but it shows that they're really trying to understand and trying to learn about these items, and it just gets you excited that there's another generation coming up. Yeah, don't steal my jumpers that I want, but
yeah,
it is quite exciting to see that the collecting market is actually getting quite large. It sucks that the value of the jumpers is going up in price when you're trying to buy one. However, they're a bit of a flood in the market, which actually does make their prices a bit more affordable. So, yeah, just look everywhere, do your research, and just ask a lot of questions as much as you can, but without being annoying. And also, if you're looking at a jumper and you're saying you want to buy it or you're interested in it, don't just disappear. Just if you don't want it, just say you don't want it. Don't just keep hanging on. Oh yeah, I want this. Yeah, I want this, and just waste people's time.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the biggest pet peeves is when you're just constantly getting your time wasted. That drives me insane as well.
Yeah, that would be very annoying. I don't think I've actually sold a Guernsey yet, so just thinking about it now, I'm probably going to
it's not fun.
Go home and look through a couple and maybe sell a couple and pick up something nice.
Yeah, I generally try and sell to a group of people that I've kind of built up a reputation with over time, rather than try and find some new buyers, because there's just too many idiots out there nowadays. So in general, those people know what they're looking for when they're trying to buy, so it makes things a lot easier, and you can really get your money's worth, I guess, if it's something that's worth it to some people. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Again, just don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Oh well, on that beautiful note, so we'll wrap it up.
Cool. Well,
don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Episode 1 done.
Don't be a dick, and thank you very much, Josh. I enjoyed it, and I hope you did too.
I did. Thank you. I think we'll be back with another episode very shortly with a good mate of ours.
Yeah, I think we have a episode lined up where we'll be talking to a real good mate by the name of Rob Verhove.
Yes.
Yes, and I hope I get that right, Rob.
A man that's probably gotten us both into our collections a bit more.
He has, so we'll be hearing a lot about his collection and a few stories from him in the very near future. So we hope you can join us, and we thank you very much for listening again. If you've got any feedback, comments, please don't be shy. Let us know what you think, what we can improve on, or what you enjoyed. Thank you very much, and we'll see you for the next one.